everyone, and welcome to YarnGasm. I'm Kristen, and this is episode 182. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back, and if you are a new viewer, thank you so much for checking out my podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, spinning, and hand-dyeing yarn in Brooklyn, New York, where I'm from and I live. And I'm so glad that you are taking a little bit of your time out of your day to chat about all the crafty things with me. This past weekend was Valentine's Day, and I hope everybody that celebrated had a wonderful, lovely Valentine's Day. Dennis and I had managed to get away for the weekend. We did a quick trip up to Montreal, which is about a 5 to 6 hour drive from the city, and I will talk more about that in detail at the end of the episode in Blather. But yeah, we had a very nice time, and I got lots of knitting done, and I have a great show for you guys. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter than usual, but needless to say, lots to talk about. But yes, before I get into what I have been working on, I just want to quickly mention our knit-alongs that I am hosting for the YarnGasm podcast. And by the way, if you are interested in joining any one of these knit-alongs, or just in general, we have a Ravelry group for YarnGasm. So if you haven't joined, please do. Lots of chatter happening in there, and you can enter to win prizes for said giveaways. Oh yes, and I also forgot to mention that I am known as Voolenvine pretty much everywhere on the web, especially on Instagram. That's VOOLENVINE, and you can find show notes over at YarnGasmPodcast.com. So just FYI. Okay, so knit-alongs. The Box of Socks Cal is currently underway, which is #BoxOSocks with an X, KAL. So if you want to share any of your progress on Instagram, feel free to use that hashtag so anyone else joining in the knit-along can see your progress and your photos. But yes, it's a year-long knit-along, and it kicked off January 2016, and I will close the thread. It will end on January 1st, 2017. So you have a whole year to fill up an entire box of socks. And I feel like it's been a while since my box made an appearance. So let me get it so I can show it to you. And the tag is coming out. But again, I'm so excited to see everyone's boxes that you've been posting. We've had some Star Wars boxes, some IKEA boxes. You can go crazy, whatever your heart fancies, but this is my box for my socks. And I currently have 2 pairs living in the box so far, but I'm almost done knitting a 3rd pair, which I will show you in the next segment. But yay, it's a fun knit-along so far, so I'm very excited, and I'm glad you're excited about it. Prizes are still TBD. But I also announced a knit-along last week that I am hosting, the Waiting for Rain Cal, which is a pattern, a lovely shawl pattern by Sylvia Bobildia. And it's just a simple crescent garter shawl, but in between there are like these little slivers of lace just randomly placed within the shawl, and it's absolutely stunning. And as soon as I saw it, I saw a bunch of people casting it on, and I was like, I have to knit this. So I want to kick that off on March 1st, 2016. So if you want to join, please do. I created a thread in the Ravelry group. So yeah, please join. I have picked out my yarn. I ordered it this past weekend, or after we got back from vacation. But I had ordered some yarn from the Woolen Rabbit, which is an indie dyer that I have not ordered yarn from in a very long time. I think I ordered from them maybe like 4 years ago. I had knit the Hanging Garden Stole by Sylvia. Oh goodness, Rosemary. Was it no? Sylvia Harding. I'm sorry. It's the Hanging Garden Stole by Sylvia Harding, and I had knit that out of the Woolen Rabbit in their lace weight in this gorgeous colorway called Scottish Heather. And I don't think she dyes that colorway anymore, but I hopped on her website and saw this other gorgeous color, which I'm excited to share with you guys, hopefully next week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you haven't checked out the Woolen Rabbit, I highly recommend her yarns. She she definitely custom dyes. Like she dyes to order, so whatever she has a list of her colorways, and whatever you like, you can choose and ask her to dye it for you, or just place the order. And anyway, too much detail. Whatever. I will link to her website in the show notes. So yeah, definitely check that out. So yeah, okay. I guess, okay, another thing that I wanted to share with you guys before I get into what I have been working on. As I mentioned, I think at the beginning of the year, I had wanted to start keeping a knitting journal. I don't know why, it just seems like a really cool thing to do. I know a lot of people have been keeping knitting journals, like not, like just physical, tangible notebooks, just journaling all your projects, the yarn that you use, saving the tags, and many of you have responded back to me with your suggestions for what you guys use as a knitting journal. And I was generally looking for like a graph paper notebook, like something spiral bound, but then I was hopping on the Amazon and stumbled across these notebooks. They're called Decomposition Books, and they're 100% post-consumer waste recycled pages, printed with soy ink, made in the USA. So somebody, I can't remember who it is, but in one of the threads also uses one of these books. And they're basic, like exercise books that, you generally use, like marble notebooks that you use in school, or like I used in school. But the cool thing about these is they're recycled, and they have an awesome print on them. This one has just a lot of sea life and tentacle. The notebook had me at tentacles, so I had to have it. And the inside is really cool too, and I'm just covering up my info because it gives you a space to include your address and your phone number in case your book gets lost. But here, I've just been I started off, just writing about my stonecutter, saving the tag from Quince & Co. and just taping it down with some fancy washi tape. And yeah, I really don't know how in detail I want to get with this. It's just, I'm just starting out, and whatever, I feel like writing down for certain projects, I will write down. But basically, I think the concept with this is that I want it to kind of be like a tangible Ravelry project book. Whereas right now, all my photos and all my info about every project that I've ever knit is pretty much stored in Ravelry in the cloud, or just, information superhighway, what have you. But yeah, it would just be nice, in case someone decides to pull the plug one day and we don't have internet, I have something tangible to remember all my knits by. You never know. So yeah, I really, really like the idea of these books, and I could totally see myself, ordering more because they're so fun. They have different prints, a whole bunch of different prints you can choose from. And yeah, I got this on Amazon Prime for about, I think, $6. So whatever. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where my knitting journal journey takes me, what have you. But anyway, and then this episode is brought to you by my teacup. While we were in Montreal, Dennis and I had stopped off at a grocery store because, I don't know, I love visiting grocery stores that are, I love visiting grocery stores that are out of town from what I'm used to. But I saw that they had a whole selection of stash tea in flavors that I have not been able to get at my local grocery store. And they had, I'm looking at the boxes, they're on my table, right on my desk right now, and I got 3 different flavors. This one is salted caramel mate, and then the other one is vanilla cream, which is really good. And I have another one. What is it? It's over there. Cocoa mocha, I think it is. I can't read the name, but it's, yeah, just all these dessert flavors. I could not resist. I just got a whole armful of them and brought them up to the checkout counter, and Dennis was like, why? I'm like, because, that's my reasoning. Because tea is important. And yeah, this is, as I mentioned, the salted caramel mate. Out of this world. It's like a dessert in a cup, and I only have like a little bit of Splenda in here. And the awesome thing is that I wanted to share with you guys one thing that I got for my office. I don't know if you can see it, but that right there is an electric tea kettle. And I got that because I'm actually really in love with it. I got it off Amazon because I'm obsessed with I'm obsessed with Amazon. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you probably can relate because it is quite dangerous because they do the shipping. You know, they get like you can get like 1 day to 2 day shipping thing. Anyway, very dangerous. But anyway, I was sitting up here and, you know, generally in the morning I go down and I have to make tea in the microwave because we don't have a proper tea kettle for the stovetop, which I would, you know, it's been on my to buy list for a while and I just never have, I've never gotten around to doing it. And one day I was like, you know, all right, I need to get a tea kettle, a proper tea kettle. So I can't, I just don't enjoy nuking my tea in the morning. But then as I was browsing Amazon, I saw these electric tea kettles and I'm like, that would be so awesome. I could just plug it in upstairs. I have a bathroom. We have a bathroom on the second floor. I could just fill it up, you know, in the sink and have my tea and I won't have to keep going up and down the stairs to refill my teapot. And it is amazing. I love it. So yeah, if you're curious, definitely check it out. And yeah, so anyway, this is a podcast about knitting. Let's get to what's on my needles. So nothing off my needles, but I did bring to Montreal because it was going to be so cold. I have my Quadra Hat, which is warm enough, but because it was so cold, I kind of wanted something that would be tight around my head to keep the cold out. And just, you know, something a little more cozy. And not a little more cozy. My Quadra Hat is very cozy. But the pom-pom, as I mentioned, kind of like weighs the hat down. So I'm constantly having to, you know, adjust it sometimes, especially when I'm doing a lot of walking. So I just wanted something that I wouldn't have to fuss over, you know, here and there. But I found this one hat pattern. And I wanted something fairly quick and fairly simple to knit that I could knit up on the way, you know, on the drive up. And I figured, you know, fingering sport weight, you know, simple hat, no problem, right? So I downloaded this one, or I purchased this one pattern called the Dotoque by Erica Knits. And I cast on using my Gauge Intention Cormo, which is a sport weight. Let me see if I can find the label. Here it is. I hand dyed it. And I really love the way that it turned out, especially for a non-superwash colorway, or a non-superwash base. It's 100% Cormo. And yeah, it's a 2-ply sport weight, grown in Montana, worsted spun in Maine. And it is so soft and so squishy, you guys. I cannot recommend this yarn more. But here's the label. I think you can actually order some from the Gauge Intention website. Don't quote me on that. I know you were able to, last time I checked you were able to, but I know she runs out. I know she runs out of stock very quickly. But here is the hat. Clearly I did not finish it because it is a pattern that makes you do this whole 2x2 ribbing and then fold it up and join it on the inside, you know, to create a folded hem. And it is so squishy, and had I finished it, it would have been so completely warm. But the other thing about this pattern that kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit, but not in a negative way, is the pattern calls for bobbles. So there's a lot of bobbling going on in this pattern. And it's been a while since I've made any bobbles in anything, and I will say the pattern directions for creating bobbles, I actually ended up frogging back because they did not include I felt like that there was a step missing in her directions for creating bobbles. I could be totally wrong. It could just be the way that I make bobbles, but I felt like there was like another step where you had to slip the stitches back onto your left needle and then knit across those and then create the bobble, if that makes any sense. It's a paid pattern, so I don't want to give too much away. But I ripped back and did it that way, did the way that, you know, I thought that I should be making bobbles, and I like them so much better. They're more bobbly and they stick out more. But yeah, again, bobbles take a long time. So I would say one round of bobbling took me about 45 minutes. Maybe the more I do them, the more quicker I will get at them. We shall see. But yeah, needless to say, I did not have a hat to wear in Montreal, but I did have my quadri, and that was surprisingly very, very warm. And I knit that out of, well, not surprisingly, it's a big chunky cabled hat knit out of 100% wool. It was a wool in their ash colorway is a worsted weight. So yeah, kept me very warm, and I actually didn't have to keep adjusting it on my head. So yeah, very happy with that. And I did not freeze, thankfully. But yeah, this is on the needles, and I am actually using my Zen needles that my parents-in-law gifted to me for my birthday. And these are, let me see, US size 2, 3.0 millimeters, and they're by Fabulous Yarn. And let me see if I can find the case for them. And they're triangular shaped. So you know how they have my cubics, which have a cubular. Oh wow, I'm making up words again. You know how they have like a cubed shape to them or a squared shape. These are triangular, so they have a triangular shape. I don't know if you can see that. That's, yeah, but they have 3 sides. They're 3 faceted knitting needles, and I am really enjoying working with these. These are just, they are a luxury to work with, so I could definitely see myself getting some more of these in other needle sizes. They're just so smooth, and they warm in your hands, and they glide. I think it's just the ebony, but they're beautiful. So I'm really, really loving working with these. So thank you, Carolyn Rod. I love them, love them, love them to death. So yeah, highly recommend them. But yeah, so that is one thing on my needles. And this was living in my homespun house project bag from Molly, who surprised me with this really awesome, I would say large project bag with all like my favorite colors, octopuses, again, the tentacles, and lots of mauve and purple and greens, and I love this bag. I use it a lot for a lot of big projects. But yeah, and the other thing that I took with me, surprisingly, on our trip was my Cozy Memories blanket. Yeah, this has not made an appearance in a very, very long time. And it's so sad how slow progress I'm making on this, but I knit 2 squares on the way back after knitting 2 rows of bubbles and then deciding to frog it all and knitting another row of bubbles. You can imagine I was going a little loopy and needed something just a little potato chippy to knit. So I knit 2 squares, and I'm totally blanking on who gave me this yarn because it was from so long ago. I believe it's either Tanya from the Knitting Spring podcast or Sharon from the TV Knitting podcast, who gifted this mini skein to me. But it's this really, really lovely bright orange, like almost like a blood orange colorway. I don't know, it's beautiful. I'm not a huge fan of orange, but this is gorgeous. So I knit that, and then speaking of orange, Jenny from the Tiny Paper Foxes podcast, who loves orange, I couldn't help casting on one of her mini skeins that she gave me, and this is Knit Picks Felici in the Tiki colorway. And I think it's always fun, like how the self-striping yarns kind of, I don't know, they have like different how they knit up as modular squares, if that makes any sense. But yeah, so I knit that, and yeah, I'm just having a lot of fun. I'm finally getting I'm finally getting my Cozy Memories blanket mojo back, if you will. So really looking forward to putting more squares on that. I don't know how big this, I have to admit, I have been tempted to kind of like scrap this project. I know it's terrible, and start a new one, because not all the squares are going in the same direction. Or the center, they're kind of zigzagging and everything, and I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I should just start over and make sure that all of the lines are going in the same direction, or some rhyme to my reason. But I don't know, I laid it out, looked at it from above, and I was like, you know what, it's actually kind of cool that none of the diagonals are going in the same direction. It's kind of like a labyrinth, if you will. So yeah, I think I'm going to stick with it. I have no idea how big I'm going to make it, how far I'm going to get with it. I just have no deadline for it at all, but it's growing slowly but surely. Here it is. I have a lot of ends to weave in, but yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to, scrap it at all, but, or like when I say scrap it, I don't mean like, oh, chuck it in the waste bin or anything like that. I just mean, finish it off, make it into like a little table runner or little pillow or something for myself, what have you. But yeah, but anyway, I'm glad I'm sticking with it and looking forward to putting more squares into my blanket because I have a lot of mini skeins to go through. Thanks to you wonderful viewers who swapped with me and podcasters as well. So, yay, that's in there. And the other thing that I have been working on since I got back are my monkey socks, a pattern by Cookie A. It's free, so if you are interested in knitting it, you can definitely download it for free in case you're curious. But yeah, and this is the second sock. I think I'm one pattern repeat away from doing the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and these are cuffed down. So yeah, I'm really having fun. I've totally memorized the pattern. I don't have to refer back to the chart or anything. So I'm just really, really enjoying working on these while I watch podcasts and the like and just take a break here and there. So yeah, and oh, another thing that I wanted to mention. I know I said that I filmed a tutorial on how to do the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I looked at the footage. I can probably make something of it, but it's still a little disjointed and I'm not totally happy with it. I think I may want to re-record it. But I do kind of want to touch on the Fish Lips Kiss heel because many of you have been emailing me about, or contacting me about, the tutorial and how you purchased the pattern and you're just incredibly intimidated by it. So just as a little overview of the pattern, yes, it's a 16-page pattern. Most of it is just extra info, lots of theory, and extra literature for your reading pleasure. But depending whether or not you're knitting a cuff down or toe up heel, you really only need, I know I said 1 page, but 3 pages out of the entire pattern. One page is just, to give you a little background info and instructions on how to proceed knitting your cuff down or toe up heel. And the other 2 pages are the actual directions for knitting the Fish Lips Kiss heel. So basically, if you're knitting a cuff down, you want to knit your leg length plus an extra inch to 1.5 inches, just to allow for the sizing for the heel. Before beginning the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and then you want to follow the directions for the actual Fish Lips Kiss for the actual Fish Lips Kiss heel. But for the toe up version, you want to knit your foot length minus about 1 inch to 1.5 inches to the end of your heel. So this is how long your foot is. You want to cast on, knit, 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 and then stop maybe like 1.5 inches before the end of your heel, and at that point that's when you begin the Fish Lips Kiss heel. So again, with the cuff down, you want to knit your leg and then an extra 1.5 inches before beginning the Fish Lips Kiss heel. So easy peasy, no problems there. But then the actual knitting of the Fish Lips Kiss heel is divided into 3 sections. So the first part of the Fish Lips Kiss heel, you're going to build the first part of the heel. And you're going to do that by creating all these short rows. It's called a twin purl stitch and a twin knit stitch. And you want to go back and forth creating those twin knit and purl stitches all the way until you have 10 unworked stitches between both ends, if that makes any sense. And then you're going to put your stitch markers to mark those unworked stitches, and then you're going to, for the second part of the heel, you're going to boomerang, and there's actually a section there called boomerang where you're going to flip it and then build the second part of the heel. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to try and create a blog post about this. We'll see. I would like to do that. If not, create another tutorial. I'll see if that works out, but I hope that kind of clarifies everything for you. But yeah, so if you are knitting a cuff down, sock, definitely check out page 7. And if you're knitting a toe up, check out page 8. And then for the rest of the pattern, it's all page 9 through 11. So yeah, I hope that helps you guys. And yeah, anyway, so yeah, that is what's off my needles, or on what I'm working on. Sorry, so scatterbrained today. Let me see what else I was going to talk about. So that is it for what's currently on my needles. Now I'm going to move on to spinning. I do not have any, I don't really have any spinning that I've been working on because the good news is my hackle arrived. I don't have it out. I had it clamped to my desk when it came, and I just went willy-nilly all over it. I was just like, it's so fun, and just went crazy creating these little bumps using the fiber that I showed you last week. But just to show you what I made, this was my test nest that I made on it. So here it is. This is just some fiber that I had languishing in my stash, and I just blended them together. So I have some stellina in there, and I have some pinks, some blues, some silks, and it is so soft. I can't tell you guys how much in love I am with my hackle. And here is some of the fiber that I showed you last week that I hackled together. So it has like some stellina in there, and this is superwash merino. So yeah, there's that. And then I went a little crazy and added some other fiber to it, just like some, I don't even know what it is. It's just some gray Shetland or something that I added to it. And yeah, it just creates this really cool like strip of fiber, and you just roll it up and create little nests. So I will definitely have more to show you next week. I'm actually going to be dyeing some more fiber today and then having a little fun with it tomorrow. Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. And I will try and insert a photo here if I can, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a hackle by Valkyrie. It's one of their extra fine, not extra fine, but like the middle of the road gauge of hackles. Yeah, so anyway, we're having a lot of fun with that and looking forward to hackling away more this week. So, okay, that is it for spinning. And then I guess I'm going to move on to Ask Away because we have a couple of questions in the Ask Away thread. So first up, we have Sydney KM on Ravelry. She wants to know, hi Kristen, I just discovered your podcast this week and I'm already hooked. I've also recently started dyeing my own colors and was just curious about what your favorite methods to dye are. Examples being hand painting, kettle dye, space dye, etc. Since I'm new to the craft, I don't quite understand how you can incorporate so many different shades of color into your yarns without it blending together and creating something murky. Thanks for your time. I hope to hear back from you soon. Okay, hi. Thanks so much for your question. So my favorite methods of dyeing, I have a couple, but primarily I do a lot of submersion dyeing. Or you know, even kettle dyeing, where you know you fill a pot of water, you add your acid, and you know add your dyes, or you can add your dyes later after you add the fiber. And the whole reason you are able to add so many different colors without the water turning murky, because you have the heat and the acids combining together or working together to fuse the dye to the yarn. And once that's all said and done, the water should be clear, and then you can add, you know, proceed to add some more dye to the pot. You know, you can either take your fiber or yarn out, add more dye, or just add more dye while it's still in the pot. You know, it's really up to you. You can get creative and just try different, you know, trial and error, try different styles and techniques out. And then there's speckling. There are a bunch of tools you can use to speckle yarn. I know Andre Sunitz uses a fan brush to speckle. There, you know, I sometimes use a little tool. It's like a mini sifter, or you know, just kind of sprinkle it over. And yeah, you can do different types of, use different types of techniques to achieve different looks. So I hope that explains some, you know, I hope that answers some of your questions. But yeah, generally I really love immersion dyeing and different layering techniques and glazing, if you will, which is pretty much, you know, the same as exhausting a whole skein of yarn in water, pulling it out, and then adding another color and dipping it in, and like just building different layers to create different effects. So yeah, and okay, so moving along, we have another question from Brigitte on Ravelry. I hope I pronounced that right. She says, or asks, may I ask you a few questions about your project bags? Do you wash the fabric before sewing a bag? And I'll just, because it's a couple of questions, I will just answer them here. Generally, no, I do not wash the fabric before I actually sew before I sew them into a bag. Depending, like the quality of fabric, if it's a good quality fabric, you should not have to wash your fabric. I know a lot of people say, wash your fabric, but I think that's more important to do with clothing. You want to wash the fabric before it shrinks, because if you sew the garment and then it fits, fits great and everything, but then you wash it, it may shrink in the wash and you're left with a garment that doesn't fit so well anymore. So I think that's an important step. If you're if you're going to be sewing a garment, you pre-wash your fabric then. But with project bags, I don't think it's as important, especially if you're dealing with quality fabric. And our next question is, do you use fleece to make it stand on its own? How thick is that fleece? There are so many in the in the World Wide Web. Okay, so I use a bunch, or I've been testing out a bunch of different types of interfacing. I have used fleece. Generally, I think it's Pellon that I've been using. I'm pretty sure it's Pellon, but yeah, it's almost like a quilting fabric, and it's a little hard to. It's not very easy to maneuver through the sewing machine. It's kind of puffy, if you will. So I've been kind of like doing a little trial and error with different types of interfacing. I've used lightweight, which does not stand up on its own, but that in conjunction with using canvas fabric gives it a little bit more sturdiness to help it stand up on its own. And then there's another one that I have, and I don't know what it's called, but it's almost like, I'm not a fan of it. It's almost like construction paper, it feels like. But it does give the project bags a lot of structure and definitely can help it stand up on its own. But I'm still kind of toying with the idea of, or just still on the prowl for the perfect interfacing that I like, or that I'm happy with. But yeah, it's definitely, again, it's a whole trial and error thing. You got to try a bunch of different things and find one that works for you. But yeah, that is an idea of what I use. And then she says, okay, she says, please keep your fingers crossed that I'll manage to sew in a zipper. It's the first time ever for me. You'll be fine. It'll be totally cool. Sewing a zipper is my favorite. Installing zippers is one of my favorite things to do. So you will be fine. I have confidence in you. And then she says, have fun practicing German. Don't be afraid to speak a little more German on your podcast. Your pronunciation is great. Auf Wiedersehen und liebe Grüße. Danke. I'm trying really hard. But yeah, so I'm definitely still practicing my German. And thank you so much for everybody for rooting me on. Yeah, it's a slow process, but I'm getting there. So, but yes, anyway, thank you so much for your questions. Again, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer on the podcast, or about the podcast, about knitting, spinning, what have you, just leave a question for me in the Ask Away thread, and I will do my best to answer them on the podcast or right there in the thread itself. So, okay. Whew, that was a lot of talking. I have a shop update, so let me go get my yarn that I'm going to have in the shop tomorrow, and I will be right back. Okay, so tomorrow I'm having a shop update as usual, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, this is just what I have dyed so far this week, but there will be more colorways because I'm going to be dyeing some more later on today. But here's what I have so far. I will have some Outlander, and this is on my Narwhal base, which is a BFL silk cashmere blend, which I love. And I will have some Enjoy the Silence. This is on Blitzed, which is superwash merino, nylon, and stellina. See the sparkle. And then I will have some, what is it? I can never remember the name sometimes. There are so many. Dirty on Purpose, which is also on my Narwhal base. And I will have all these colorways dyed across several of my bases as well. And if you haven't checked out the pattern by Benjamin Crudwig, he has the Design Time podcast, and he's also a wonderful pattern designer. He knit a hat called the Couragean Hat, using Dirty on Purpose, and it turned out really awesome. I will post a link to it again in the show notes. But Benjamin is also offering 25% off all of his patterns on Ravelry, so definitely check that out. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, and use the coupon code Voolenvine. Voolenvine at checkout. So thank you so much, Benjamin, for that generous offer. And yeah, be sure to check it out, guys. So yeah, we have Dirty on Purpose. And then it's been a while, but I have some more Come on Barbie, Let's Go Party. And let me see. I will of course have some Love Song. and I actually ran out of dye, so I have just ordered some more dye to dye up some more Venus flytraps, so that will be next week, hopefully. But yeah, in the meantime, I have a new colorway that I dyed up. I haven't named it yet, but I'm thinking about Purple Star Galactica. That's what comes to mind when I look at it. It's just a super bright, super purple neon atrocity, if you will. So I think it's a lot of fun. And this is on my Volca. Is it? Yeah, this is my Volca base, which is a merino nylon cashmere. Super soft. I will also have it on Narwhal as well. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I will have it on Stellina, or my Blitz base. So that will be in the shop as well tomorrow. So yeah, and again, I will have some more colorways. Oh, no. And I also have, hang on. Stellar Banshee. Yes, I will have some Stellar Banshee in the shop tomorrow as well. So yeah, again, the shop update will be tomorrow, Friday, February 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I hope you can make it. But just a quick reminder, the last Saturday of the month is coming up. That is going to be February 27th, which, if you're not familiar, is my International Friendly Shop update. So again, it's Saturday on the 27th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you live across the pond or abroad or wherever, not in the United States, and you can ever manage to catch an update, I hope you can make that one and catch some of my yarn. So yeah, that said, I think I'm going to move on to Blather, which is where I talk about what's going on in my life, if you're curious. So yeah, as I mentioned, Dennis and I had taken a trip up to Montreal. We stayed in Old Montreal, which is the older part of Montreal. So we stayed at a really cute hotel down mainly like by the financial district, I would say. And again, it was freezing cold out, so we were all bundled up, and I brought knowing that it was going to be so cold, I dressed accordingly. I had my stonecutter pullover, I had my Quadra Hat, and I brought the alpaca. So I brought my Cladonia shawl, which I actually have right here. I can't remember when I knit this, but it's a pattern by Kirsten Kapoor, and I believe the yarn is Frog Tree yarns, and yeah, it's just like a natural. It's 100% alpaca, but it's a natural oatmeal color, and then there's like this really cool avocado green color. And I want to knit another one of these because I really love it. It was such a fun pattern to knit, and I love Kirsten Kapoor. She's one of my favorite knitwear designers, but this kept me so warm. And I also had some mittens that I knit out of Malabrigo worsted yarn, which I don't have on me to show you, but they are heavily pilling, and they've gotten a lot of use, and I think it's time for me to knit another pair. But they kept my hands warm. Everything kept me warm in negative 19 degree weather. And Dennis was so worried that I was going to be cold. If you know me, I hate wearing pants. I hate wearing jeans. I live in leggings. And Dennis was like, bring a pair of pants, bring a pair of pants, bring a pair of pants. You're going to be so cold. You're probably going to end up wearing my pants by the end of the trip. I'm like, no, I'm totally not going to be using your pants. But anyway, long story short, on our way up, we stopped off and I picked up we stopped off at some outlets or whatever in Lake George, which is where we crashed for the night before proceeding for the next 3 hours up to Montreal. But so yeah, they had some outlets in the Lake George area, and we stopped off and I got some thermal leggings. They were black and they went with everything I had on, and they were lined and everything. But Dennis was still not convinced that I would be warm enough. Long story short, we went outside. It was freezing cold, but I was all bundled up and my legs were fine. They were fine. He was cold. I was like, but thankfully we did not have to walk too far to get to where we were going. Our hotel was situated where we only had to walk about maybe 10 to 15 minutes to places that we wanted to check out. And, if you're not familiar with Montreal, they have this really awesome underground, I don't want to call it a mall, but they have these pathways that all lead, you can just walk underground because it gets so cold. And there's like shopping to do there are restaurants and everything. So we were 2 blocks away from that, where the entry to that was. So it was really fun. We just walked around underground for I don't know how many hours. Sadly, everything was pretty much closed, but that kind of, added to the whole like coolness of it. It's kind of like a ghost town of, just people commuting, going places, and then all these stores that were just, closed for the day because, it's Valentine's Day. And I'm sure everybody wanted to go to where they were going to go. But anyway, there's that. And then we also went to the Pont à Callière, I think that's how you pronounce it. But it's the History Museum of Montreal. And, we went there on a total whim. It was close by. It was about 2 blocks away from us again. And there just so happened to be an exhibit going on Agatha Christie, who is she's a mystery novelist who, she's known for the Murder on the Orient Express, the movie, the book, and then There Were None. You've probably heard of her, but I got so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, we have to go see this. So we went to go see it, and the exhibit was just amazing. You want to talk about inspiration? Like between Edward Gorey and like now Agatha Christie, it's like I'm totally inspired. So yeah, it was really cool getting it had all of her first edition novels. They had the complete Mrs. Marple, this book that made it into the Guinness Book of World Records. The book was like this big, and it had the complete works of Agatha Christie's Mrs. Marple mysteries. And just seeing all these things in one place, and she led such a fascinating life. Just, and they had her outfits on display, which I found really fascinating. And yeah, if there's actually if you have, I'm not sure on Netflix, but on Amazon there is a documentary hosted by the guy who plays Pierrot. It's another one of her murder mystery characters. Inspector Pierrot, I believe. I've never seen one, but I want to watch them now. But the character, or the actor who plays him, goes on, he takes you on this whole journey, like trying to, uncover things about her life and who she was as a person. So yeah, it was a very fascinating watch, especially if you can't get to the exhibit. But I really enjoyed it. Dennis and I, we went out to eat. We had this really lovely Valentine's Day dinner. And we tried poutine, which I've never had before, but basically what it is, in short form, they're gourmet disco fries, if you will. But yeah, just a giant plate of French fries smothered in gravy and pulled pork. And I have to admit, I sadly am not a fan of the poutine. It's a little heavy for me. I'm not very much into fried foods. But yeah, I did enjoy the onion soup. We had French onion soup, which is out of this world. And they had, what's the other one? Duck liver. I cannot remember what it's called. Canadians are probably yelling at me right now, but anyway, it's very good. And then I did come across the little, if you watch the Fond Knits podcast, Laura was holding up like these little maple candies that she likes to put in some of her packages. And I saw those, and I was so tempted to get a whole bag of them, but yeah, again, not a sweet tooth person, but yeah, it was fun to see those in real life, IRL. But yeah, so yeah, we had a really, really fun time. We got cozy, we bundled up, and just, I think the main thing is we got out of the city, which we always enjoy doing. So any excuse to get out of the city. I would so very much love to go back to Montreal when the weather is warmer, because you can do so much more exploring, and there's so much history there. And yeah, so we had a really fun time. And otherwise, we came back on Monday night. I wanted to go to a yarn shop there because I had several recommendations. I cannot remember the name of the yarn shop off the top of my head, but the plan was to go there on Monday before we left to go back home. And Dennis had checked the weather, and it looked like there was like a big snowstorm coming our way. And he's like, we better hit the road now, otherwise getting home is going to be miserable. So he was correct. We were toying with the idea. All right, well, if you go in, don't take too long. But like, no, let's just be smart and head home. But yeah, about maybe 4 or 5 hours into our drive home, the snow started falling, and the roads just started. It was not, I wouldn't say treacherous, but had we left later, it would have gotten to be a treacherous ride home. So I'm glad we left when we did. But yeah, 5 hours turned into 7 hours. So it was a long car ride home. But yeah, again, lots of knitting done. So anyway, we got home late on Monday night, and then, yeah, otherwise, it's pretty much that's pretty much what's been going on. Otherwise, catching up with work. Yeah, it's like one day off and I come home, have lots of emails to catch up on and everything. So yeah, it's a full-time job. Excellent. Yeah, this weekend I'm planning to get together with some friends, do some knitting, and I'm looking so forward to that as well. And otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what's happening here. So that said, I will let you go. Happy knitting, and I will see you next time. Bye.